Right, so bit of an impromptu brew day. Had some time I could take off work, so decided to make a Simcoe Mosaic Pale Ale. I'm going to use up the ancient unrefrigerated liquid Kveik I've got in my fridge at the moment. So I spent 2 years out of the fridge, and I think I'm going to see how tough Kveik is. So first thing I'm doing is I've got a Camden tablet, which these little pill splitters are great for the Camden tablet. And I'm putting half into my brewing water and half into the sparge. And now I've got to go back to work for an hour while I wait for this to heat up. So 20 litres, maybe see the Camden there just at the bottom. That'll quickly dissolve, and I think that's 20-ish litres. I measure it out when I'm actually adding the sparge water, but for that I just fill it up to the brim. So I'll tell you the recipe in a little bit. So just about to mash in, and in the malt pipe I have 5 kilos of Chevalier pale malt, half a kilo of oat malt, 300 grams of Crystal Light, 200 grams of Crystal Extra Light, 100 grams of medium Crystal, 50 grams of dark Crystal. Again, a mixture of the Crystal malts to try and get a deeper flavour. And that is my brewing salts. I'll put the water profile into the description. I'll just put in the link to Brewfather. So, yep, about to mash in, and the way I'm going to do it is a bit like underletting. So, I'm going to lift this, quite difficult to do with one hand, and let it slowly sink into the mash water. If I've got a huge malt bill, I don't do it like this, but this is quite manageable, so let the water slowly seep up, and then I'll go in with the mash paddle. One of those trough planters is actually quite good for storing mash paddles and wine thieves and siphons. Okay, so help this along. Every time. Okay, right, turn off the camera while I try and stir this through, and I'll flick back on in just a moment. So after about a minute of stirring, I seem to have got the worst of any dough balls. It was minimal, it was great. So yeah, my recipe was supposed to be 5.5 kilos of Maris Otter, and I thought I had Maris Otter, but I didn't. But I still had some pale malt with Chevalier, and I just topped that up with oat malt. So that's not rolled oats, that's oat malt still has the husks, so it shouldn't be an issue with sparging and things. just make sure you stir right down to the bottom. Break up any dough balls. Oh, there's a whopper, that one. Yeah. Yeah, a few of them actually. Just a little bit clumpy down at the very bottom. So to make sure you stir right the way through. So I tend to put on the recirc without the top plate to begin with, because I'll come back and I'll stir this every 10 minutes or so at the beginning, and then for the last 15 minutes and plus the mash out, I have the top plate on, and that clears the water a little. This is soaking up the liquid quite quick. So Brewfather suggested just under 20 litres to mash in with, and that's what I've got. So the top plate is now on, and recirculating, so hopefully just under 15 minutes to go in the initial mash, and I'll ramp it up to just over 70 for the mash out, and in that time let the water start to clear as it filters through. So that's mash out complete. I'm just about to start the sparge. As you can see, the top plate is collapsed into the grain bed, which made that extra filter as much use as a chocolate fired guard. I absolutely detest the screens on the Grainfather, the silicone seals, just everything about it. Even this thing barely stays on. But going to sparge now with 14 litres and start the boil. So just about to bring it up to the boil. I've just finished sparging, getting rid of the grains. Tub of grain for the dogs to have some with their dinner, and my wife turns them into treats for them as well. Pre-boil 10:32. Never sure if I get this right, but that sample is around 68 degrees centigrade. The hydrometer is calibrated for 16. When I use the temperature correction tool on Brewfather, it says that's really a pre-boil gravity of 1053. So if it's there or thereabouts, that's what I was looking for. And yeah, it's not as bad as I was expecting it to be colour-wise. By that I mean I was expecting it to be really bitty and grainy and murky, but considering it's got all the oat malt in it, I think that's not too bad. Yeah. So just going to leave that in there for now anyway. While I'm bringing this up to the boil, I'll keep one eye on it because it's very easy to get a boil over, but I'll start rinsing off the malt pipe. I've already rinsed off a few bits and pieces, and I'll put that out in the bucket. So that's another little bit done, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay. So coming up to the boil now. I'm going to jinx myself and say it's been a fairly straightforward Brewday. Other than having to swap out Maris Otter for Chevalier and adding a bit of oat malt, it's been fine. I've had everything, got my hops weighed out, so first 60 minutes is, oh hang on, little error on the spell sheet. 25 grams Simcoe at 60, 20 Simcoe, 20 Mosaic, 10 minutes, and same again for a hop stand. Yep, so all going well so far. I think there's quite a lot of protein in this one, most likely because of the oats. I did get some anti-foam for the boil, but since I already added that to the fermenter, and I'm definitely going to add it to the fermenter for this one because it'll be Kveik that I'm fermenting hot, and there won't be much headroom in the bucket, so hopefully it'll do its thing. Yeah. 60-minute hop addition. Okay. Last 10 minutes of the boil. So this is 20 grams Mosaic, 20 grams Simcoe, and also add my nutrients. So that's a teaspoon and a half of DAP, Protofloc, and that is a capsule of Cervomyces. I threw in the servo as well since the yeast was so old, and we'll maybe give it a bit of a helping hand. And I've also found that the pre-boil was a little bit down on what it should be. Not by much. I'm going to add a couple of 100 grams of sugar. I'm not entirely sugar, so 80 grams of plain table sugar, and that is 120 grams of jaggery, which is a Indian raw sugar. So, don't know what it'll do, but I'm assuming it'll ferment. Going to turn off the heat, and actually, no, I won't. I'm going to keep the heat on for a minute. So let's set the timer for the last 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some water to this to dissolve it a little bit, and then I'll add it. So, sugar and the jaggery, or jaggery, don't really know how you pronounce it, is added now. I really should have cut the jaggery into smaller pieces, as it didn't dissolve that well in the bowl. Quite a small bowl as well. So I had the heat off for a couple of minutes. Still hot enough, I think, to continue the boil. But with the elements off, there was less chance of the sugar sticking as soon as it hit the bottom of the pot. So fingers crossed this wasn't a terrible idea. Doesn't smell terrible. So this is the yeast I'm going to be using. I don't know if you could see that well. Manufacture date 04/09/2018. I think Omega is an American company, so there's every possibility then that will be the 9th of April 2018. So as yeast goes, That is incredibly old. Don't think they do this packaging anymore. So, had it out the fridge for a little while, puffed up again, so it's either just the carbon dioxide coming out of the suspension or it is still alive. Anyway, we'll soon find out. See how tough Kveik really is. So, the wort is in the bucket. Sadly I couldn't film much of the, well, I couldn't film any of the chilling process. Two-handed job and I don't have a tripod at the moment. But I've aerated it. I just used the Grandfather paddle and a drill for about a minute or so. Not overly vigorous though, as I have got this right up to the brim. So, the 5 gallon mark. So, just about to pitch the yeast. I've also added to the wort Hop-Aid anti-foam and Brewer's Clarex. So, I'll try and film this. Sterilise these. Doesn't smell rancid. Oh, not any more rancid than liquid yeast normally does. And there we go. So, yeast is pinched. Now, just going to put the lid on, put it in the fermentation chamber, and hopefully it will work.